Okay guys, I think I'm on, but hold on, let me go to the video. So hold on, yeah. Okay guys, I think I'm okay. That was me. Let me put the chat up here so I could read it. Can I? No? Oh, yeah. Much better there. Alright, guys. Think I got it. Yes. Okay. Had to try something different today. Well, I don't thank you. So, okay, I think I'm on. Looking good. Okay. Alright. Not quite sure how long I'm gonna be able to go on. Let's shoot for 1 hour. Let's see, that's one there. Let's watching this guy. Okay. Oh wait, that's not that one here. Okay, let's see. Morning's good. It's alright. Yeah, it's a morning. Same old, same old. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Same old. Wait, why is it so low? Okay, this is income. Sorry, let me. Okay, I think I got this one here. Let me see what's going on with this one. Okay, Jimmy sold my kidney and buy more here. If you okay, so it's hard to. All right, so again. They're pumping, the meme coin, obviously, right? They're trying to, get this going, right? They're saying it's GME in the 2024. It's going to be a bigger story, but when they link this, right? It's not the GME the stock, so to speak, GME the coin, okay? And again, there's a lot of people been pumping it like crazy. Again, this is the psyop of things, right? Not saying that you're not going to be able to make the money, but who's going to be the one that pays? Usually it's the people that buy into the coin at however high it's going to go to. Currently you could get it at, sub penny, right? But again, who supplies the coins, right? Till these days, I don't see, tiny crypto. If you're ready to believe in GME, you should get a bag of whatever this is, 10 times by 10. They're promoting it like crazy, right? But again, it has nothing to do with the company itself. Just one of those things I noticed. And again, this is how they hijack the the whole movement, right? Anytime people watch when GME posts a positive earnings, I don't know. Again, I don't know what's gonna happen. One of two things might happen. The price is gonna go crazy, the stock itself, and it's gonna be dampened by the crash of the token, perhaps, right? Depends on how many people actually fall for the BS, right? But people who are watching Marantz, and I'm sure we're not going to fall for that. But people who are new to this might be steadfast to find out that it has nothing to do with the company whatsoever, and the coin itself too, because the supply. I'm concerned who's the one who sell that token to you at sub penny, right? And how many dilution, like the supply to dilute you, do they have on hand when the price go $100 or $200? Who's going to sell those to you at $200, right? And they probably could dump a whole bunch of token, so to speak, on top of you, just like whoever's at the top. And again, because there's no regulation, there's no one to be like held accountable for it. I'm sure nobody knows who own most of that token. For all you know, it could be these people, right? Allegedly. How would I know? Yeah, it's ridiculous. And the fact that they're emboldened to do this to a company, it's ridiculous as well. But I hope no one fall for it. But just the sad reality of life, of this world, I think there's going to be people fall for it. But whatever. You can't save them all. Alright, so let's talk about Gamestop real quick. Of course, the title is kind of give it away of what I'm going to talk about. But let's kind of kill some time a little bit because I'm waiting on a few more people coming in. If not, I'll just start it. So they're advertising a lot, on the Nintendo and all that stuff. What is it called? If I look at the Anime Week, and there wasn't a demonstration event right here. So today at 12, it's on selected location. Like you could go to the company website to see what location, whether you have one close by. I did check for my own location, but there was none that are close by to me. So I would have gone to check it out myself. But it sounds like this is periodically happening demo events. So you get to play the latest game from Nintendo and all that stuff. So I think it's a pretty cool engagement tool to get people in the store and getting used to the environment. And on top of that, you get to kind of try new gadget as well. So I think that's a good idea. The fact that people think Ryan Cohen doesn't do anything. It's like, really? Is that true? Like he done nothing for all he does is just cash burning this company. It's like, okay, well, you wait and see. Hi Michael, thank you. Happy Saturday. Sorry, I'm just killing time here. Alright, so let's get to the price update. Let's see, I added a few here, a few here. Cost average right now on that account, I have two accounts, remember, my Roth IRA. And so one account is like 40 something, but that one has a lot more shares. With this one, I'm building the new one, and currently my cost average is around $15 or so. So I'm adding small amount here and there. Of course, I still have some dry powder left. and I'm hoping for that big drop, but if not, hey, I'm just shaving it at a couple shares here and there at a time. I still have around $2,500 more to add to that particular account before I max it out. Remember, I told you my plan is to max my Roth IRA. Whatever I could put in my Roth IRA for this year, I could do that. So I looked it up. If I looked up the maximum contribution for 2023, let's see. I think it's I'm doing it on my phone. I think it's $6,500 for 23. 2024, I think it's up to 7,000. So, wish me luck. I don't know if I could max it out this year, but I'm planning to. So, however much I could save, that would be great. Hold on. Yeah, so limit contribution for Roth 24. Yeah, $7,000 with this year, 24. 23 is 6,500. So that's my plan. The reason why I was able to do it for 23 is because of the settlement from Celsius, which I got, back in the day, like around the 10th or so, or the 11th. So that was a good chunk for me to kind of stash it away. It's perfect timing too, because it's around the time I could scoop some at this price. So I'm lucky in that sense. Count myself lucky. Okay, so that's that. So today's today price action. Friday price action was kind of interesting, right? Of course, it's very low volume. Like even with that price action, it wasn't anything exciting there. But I think to me that's a good thing, because as a long-term investor, you don't want a price spike too much, right? You want to accumulate as much as you can. But as far as like the retracement though, if you look at the retracement real quick, it's just like the last line of defense right here. If it's dropping down more, it seems like it's already breaking that line, but this retracement is pretty steep retracement, but it happens. If it gets to the red line, if it breaks down here, it's going to come down to 12. So 12 might be the one that kind of like the double bottom thing, maybe, if you do a weekly. Let's see, right here, right? So perhaps it's going to be the bigger double bottom that is forming, which is great. Hey, if I could get it at $12, more shares for me. So, yeah, I mean, it could happen where, right before the earnings as well. It's kind of fitting too. I mean, my thought is that, remember, the Fed is going to raise the rate, or I don't know whether they're going to, so there's two things going to happen, right? Because the Fed is going to get a meeting on March, right? In March somehow, I think a day after Gamestop earnings, and whether they're going to raise the rate, keep it low, keep it the same, or cut it. It really doesn't matter to the grand scheme of things of what GameStop's gonna do. We all know that this quarter we're gonna do very well. At the very least, we're gonna turn positive, right? And so my concern is that when the Fed raise the rate, it's gonna crash the market, right? the SPY might drop, Nvidia is gonna drop. It's only a matter of time. I don't know how it's gonna, prop up the S&P if Nvidia keep going up and up like crazy. I was following, Friday trading. I guess it hit 820 per share. It's ridiculous, right? And I was like, it's not gonna hold. And so sure enough, it's kind of dropped. But again, like this could be just a consolidation until it move higher even. Of course, like the news out there, they want you to believe that this company is going to keep going up like crazy. So look, it's like, how can you like 5x your... Is this sustainable? You think they're going to be able to 5x in the next quarter again? So who's buying their product, right? Could that be like government? I don't know. It just seems so cringe, right? Cringe. Ford Riley ahead. Nvidia. See, like what? Makes no sense to me. Okay, so let's see what the analysts want you to do for this company. Of course, they just up their price to $1,200 a share. Everybody upgrading it. Strong buy. Whole. I don't know, you guys. Like, of course, it hit $2 trillion at one point. At one point, like when it was like $800 something, it was $2 trillion company. Is it sustainable? I don't know. It's remained to be seen. Of course, Moran's already did a kind of breakdown on the balance sheets, and it's not looking good, so to speak. Of course, like they were buying their own shares at the top, right? And how is that possible? It's because they're trying to elicit their own short squeeze, so to speak, but there's no short interest in this company. Hold on, let me see. What's the short interest here? See, like 1%. It's ridiculous. But yeah, technically, GameStop could do that too. It has. Again, I'm not worried about GameStop, but here's another thing too. Like, look at the profit margin. It's like it's ridiculous. I mean, you know how like people like saying AI this, AI that, right? And Moran's mentioned that before too, but if all of these AI stuff really make the company, like this is the company that sell those chips, right? The GPU and all that stuff. And if they're successful at, being trillions of dollars company, selling the shovel to the people, who want to, but who has the money to, number one, buy those chips, like they overcharge people, right? And whether those companies that are going to buy the chips to do AI stuff is going to make money. How are you going to make money on top of, that technology that is already overinflated in price already? And so if those technologies going to replace human, who is going to be the consumer? There's no win in this, I don't think, right? Because we all know that we hardly have anything to live, let alone have you heard about the food inflation? Like 30-year high or something? 30-year food cost or something. Food inflation. It's like it costs you more money off your paycheck to it's been 30 years since food ate up this much of American income. Yeah, so 30 years ago you're well off. You're worse off than 30 years ago. because the income of your food costs more, and it eats up most of your income. So eventually, you might not be able to feed yourself, right? I've already seen like a whole bunch of people were saying like, hey, I can't budget my rent versus food. Like eventually I'm gonna have to pick and choose, like eat or no place to stay, right? And that's terrible. That's terrible for an economy that has all-time high SPY. That's not good. This is not good, right? Unless this is why it's a very dangerous place to be. But I don't know what the solution is, honestly. It seems like it's terrifyingly getting worse and worse. And again, politicians don't care, right? Because they don't have the same economic problem, because again, they have good healthcare when they're in the White House, right? They have good healthcare. They have wages that keeps up with inflation, right? With the exception of the mainstream. And people everywhere are struggling, and that's why, credit card go berserk. No end in sight. But of course, like people would say, well, the reason why is because you don't know how to manage your money. Some of it is true, but not completely, right? At some point, the economy has to, somebody has to be to blame for printing this much. And we all know where the inflation comes from. It's like you have to live under the sand to not know that. Great price on GME this week. I agree. Nvidia's super overpriced. Pumped way too much. Yeah, I agree. Hi Jay, thank you. GME fam, howdy. Yeah, I'm just like babbling on the food price inflation here. But anyway, yeah, seems like most of you are here. So let's get to the topic at hand here. So on my title, I was kind of like, again, like I was kept reflecting on the past 3 years, right? And of course, like people coming in here, and I keep ringing, in my head, it's like, oh, Ryan Cohen doesn't do shit for this company, and cash burn this, cash burn that. And I'm like, well, what are they burning cash to do? I don't understand how people keep saying cash burn and all that stuff. Like, of course, like when operating a business, like even your own life, like I don't have any business, right? But I look at my income as something that brings my money, right? So if you equate that to GameStop, GameStop does sell stuff in order to, have a gross profit, and that gross profit is company income. So that company income, gross profit, you divvy it up, utility costs, utility, employee, executive compensation, whatever the expenses are, that has to do with the profitability of this company. So you have those expenses, right? And sometimes, because of the hold on, let me see. I'm trying to get to the financial thing. Because of those expenses, sometimes some expenses going over, your head, right? And it's uncontrollable. Namely would be inflation, right? Like those things, it doesn't just not affect the bottom line of the company. And again, every company go through this. What makes you think that other company doesn't do it, doesn't go through the same thing, right? But my point is that other company, they just have a way to trick customers to think, have you buy something right now where it used to be a lot bigger portion, right? For a higher price. So this is how they steal, some of those, food inflation. Oh, actually, 1 second. I'll be right back. Crazy doggy. Sorry, my Bella was outside. Okay. Anyway, so food inflation, again, like if you equate to income versus my income versus gross profit for the company, those things affect the bottom line of the company. And so it doesn't operate in a vacuum. So, but my point is that, you have a leadership that kind of have a pulse on that, is aware of that. That's why we've been cutting. We've been, operating at a better, ratio, so to speak. And so to do that, yes, you need to shave off some expenses that is controllable, right, in my opinion. And that is debt, right? So let me look at, hold on, I think this one doesn't show as much though. Earnings? No. No, I don't think it'll show here. You know what, I'm just gonna go to this one right here. So this one is the recent one. Let's look at the previous, the year of which Ryan Cohen got in. Now, of course, we all know who's this guy, Winthrop guy coming in. The other day he was saying that GameStop enacted BCG plan, right, of downsizing. It takes Ryan Cohen 3 years to do this. And of course it's misinformation, right? BCG doesn't want to downsize this company. They do the opposite. And so again, the misinformation is there. But let me address this cash burn, thing that people keep saying that GameStop burning cash, right? Back then when Ryan Cohen got in. Now let me show you the letter. Right here. So the time frame is this, right? Ryan Cohen bought in GameStop at the end of 2020. Okay, this is when he got involved, wrote a public letter to GameStop, and this is how I got the timeline, right? And so the timeline right here is 2021 October, right? So he is involved in this, right? So when he got in, what did he do right away? Paying off debt, right there. So that's the cash burn that people are up in arm about, right? And he's doing that in order so that we could benefit right now in this the time frame. See, we would have been $200 million paying off, paying 10%, right? It's instead of keeping that money, of course, this 10% may not seem that much, but 10%, that's a lot, rather than not paying that. And so imagine if we still have this loan right here, right? We would have burned more cash, right? And we would have been paying more than $17 million, right here, over that time frame, right? 2 years or whatever, right? No, 3 years. So, and then at that time, this was due. So we are out 6.7%. So the senior note was 10% interest. And so we paid a premium, make whole premium here, in order to get rid of that. And so that freed the company so much, right? That's why we're were able to go ahead with the NFT marketplace, right? Have more room to expand that way. And so for people to say Ryan Cohen doesn't do shit, they don't understand this part. It's like, if you have debt, you can't move forward, right? Until you pay it off. Think about people who have student loan right now versus people who don't have student loan. Who do you think thrive better? The one with debt or the one with no debt? You see what I mean? And so the fact that he made the decision, and the reason why I think it was Ryan Cohen, I know it's like the whole team, I get it, the whole board of director, is because the date, right? And people keep saying, oh, Ryan Cohen doesn't do shit. I'm like, what? But who was influential enough for people to say, hey, let's pay off the 10% senior note for the future, right? And even though we have to pay a make-whole premium for that, that's fine, right? Because the future is brighter. It's like, again, the mentality of these people in the old leadership point of view, right? In my opinion, is debt is good, right? Oh, if you expand by having debt, that's good for you. That's good for the company. This is the only way that company could grow. And I despise that, because that doesn't make any sense. Because if you over leverage yourself based on the debt portion of things, you're actually stunning your growth, right? You're borrowing from the future, your future, to get the money now, right? What if you can't grow now? What happened is now, like, what's happening now? What do you think? Do you think you actually could grow your company, with this surmountable debt? Like, even $200 million, look, back then, what is it? $219 million right there, right? This is the senior note there. And then on top of that same year, they had under $200 million that is due, right there. And so they pay that off too, right? From 2020 to 2021, right there. So it's all gone. So if you were to add these two together, what is that? That's $400 million. So that's the cash burn that people keep saying, oh, Gamestop, burning cash. Hundreds of billions of dollars. No, they pay off debt in order to, be good for the future, right? So that's doing something, in my opinion, right? So that's one lie to kind of dispel. I hope people don't come in here and say, oh, Ryan Cohen doesn't do shit. Okay, all right, well, if paying off debt doesn't do shit, then I don't know what is. What is doing thing, right? Okay, and then what am I? So that's one. Hold on, let me look at. So they repay this one too, senior. Wait, hold on. January. Wait, so October, January. So they paid this one as well. Right there. Okay, so this one was back in the 2020. So they paid on. So it's not completely 200, but if you want to add the amount of what Ryan Cohen, or the leadership after Ryan Cohen, you could add these two together, right? So $290 million paid off. And that doesn't include the $17 million make-whole premium. So that's addition to that. So more like 300 million of that cash burn, quote unquote, that people keep quoting. 700 million cash burn, remember? Brian Zuzi or whatever, that guy. He said, oh, in 2 years, Ryan Cohen burned $700 million. That's the terminology that they use. Well, 300 million of that is debt, paying off debt. And again, paying off debt is a good thing. Yes, initially it shows cash burn, quote unquote. And that's why I put it on quote, because it's not really burning cash. You're paying forward for the future growth of the company, right? So again, like if you have student loan versus people who don't have student loan, I'm lucky enough that I don't have any student loan left, because my parent did give me that opportunity to grow. And this is why I'm able to save as much as I can, even with the income that I have, right? And so, very low income, compared to, my peers. But again, it's just a choice that I'm choosing currently, because I want to learn as much as I can about the financial world, right? And but anyway, my point is that my peers has student loan, right? And they have their own life to live and all that stuff. Even though they getting paid more than me, they still living paycheck to paycheck. I hear them complain all the time. But they have experiences, they have kids and all that stuff. And so, again, it's just buying your experience. What kind of experience do you want to live? And for me, I just can't, imagine myself and have a family right now. But that's why I'm building up for the future, like saving as much as I can so that I could be, at least drag my own weight, right? Before I decided to go off and kind of like be okay in the world. But again, it's just me thinking. Comparing to my cohorts, I have much more saving than them, because I don't know, again, just my own choice here, because again, I don't have debt to kind of drag me down. And again, it's not like if you have debt in your life, it's not just, even if you could afford it, to me psychologically, it's kind of like pulling you back, because again, every single paycheck goes towards the debt, right? It's not going towards building your future. And psychologically, like I said, even if you could afford that debt, it's still a factor that you have to consider, right? I'm not saying that, at some point, yes, if you know how to manage the debt very well, cash flow well and all that stuff, yes, you could make money on it, on that, but not right now, right? Because the interest rate's going to be high, people are not able to afford things, so deflationary going to come into play at some point in this, crazy market. And so you have to be ready for that. And I think Ryan Cohen has been doing great in that sense, because again, we've been cutting 3 years ago, and not to the demise of the company, but I think it's to, but I think it's a smart thing to do, right? Now, I also heard the phrase that people say about how you cannot cut to profitability. I heard Brian Susie, the Yahoo Finance guy, talk about it. Eventually you can't cut to the profitability. Well, he's just demonstrated to you last quarter that you could do that. Yes, it's possible. If you're smart and do the business, efficiently, you could do it, right? Without debt, and then not over leveraging yourself. The asset that you have is dollar for dollar. So even if they make $1 next quarter, you still get to keep that dollar. You don't have to worry about the debt payment. You see what I mean? And so one penny saved is 1 penny earned, right? That's the mentality of Warren Buffett. Like every time he saw a penny on the ground, he would pick it up and he would be like, this is the start of another $1 billion, right? So again, people scoff at a penny on end, and they don't really realize that those could add up if you give it to the right person, right? And I think this leadership is good for it, in my opinion, obviously, right? So let's see. That's my rant there. Lost my train of thoughts. Let me read the chat real quick. Seems like nobody's... Okay, that dragged down everything. Of course. I totally agree with that. I think just psychologically, when you are indebted to somebody, you've always feel like that. It's like, oh, no matter what I do, I cannot make the future works for me. See what I mean? And that mentality is so damning, right? Unless you are happy to pay a certain, even with your own life too, right? Like, what is this? What is the saying? A lender is a slave to owner, or something like that. So it's almost like you're a slave to the lender. And why would you want to do that when you could thrive? When the company is doing well, they're actually making money right here. Cash flow positive. Why cut some of that just so that you could say, oh, we have the maximum amount of stores. Oh, we have the maximum amount of leverage, the right leverage and all that stuff. Of course, like, people want to make it sound like, oh, debt is the best thing to do. Like, Robert Kiyosaki, right? And I get it, at some point, yes, you could leverage that because the debt becomes cheap, right? When debt becomes cheap, money becomes cheap again. I'm sure Brian Cohen would know how to leverage that too, right? Because if you could borrow at 2% versus, 10%, right? At some point, you're going to be able to do that. And you could make more than 2% a year. Of course, we're going to leverage that. And I'm sure, Brian Cohen and the team would know the right time to do that. My point is that right now, it's not the right time to do that. And so we have to weather the storm as much as we can because of the economy, right? People said, well, the economy seems to do well because the SPY went up all-time high. Well, you just don't understand the bubble, like the nature of the bubble that we're in right now. It's unprecedented, right? And of course, with NVIDIA going higher and higher, and of course the media head out there is pumping it up like crazy. It's like, oh, it could go higher. Of course, it's going to be 1,200. It's going to be a $3 trillion company in 2 months, right? Okay, all right, or 3 months. Next quarter is going to be beating again. It's like, okay, all right, you could play that game. Now, also too, like, people say, oh, you're just jealous because you're not in this. Well, kind of, sure, I'm jealous. But you want me to buy at this high, right? No, I'm not going to do that. I feel like they might want to bring it up to 1,000 and then drop it, right? Again, try to get as many people into this play as much as they can, and then they're going to drop it. Backholder, right? That's what they always say. What is the evaluation? Like, if you look at the... Hold on. Sorry, you guys, I'm feeling like I'm ranting today. Too much ranting. But let me see the stat real quick here. 66. But again, that's assuming that they could deliver... What is the income here? So, if next quarter, this is trailing 12, right? Okay, so if the next one So they increased their revenue by, a lot, right? So Winthrop would be very, very happy to buy this, right? Like, because revenue is up by 200%, right? So he should be buying this left and right now. That's good. That's the only metric that he used to diminish. What is it? To say that GameStop is a shitty company, right? Because the revenue is down by 4% year on year. But for this one, this is quarter by quarter. So from here to here, 200 something? Really? Wow. So from 18 to 22 revenue, they get to keep 16 right there, 16 billion. What is the net? If you look at the net alone right there. So how is this possible? I think this is the wrong 7, really? 700% growth? How is it 700% from here to here? Really? Hold on. Yeah, so how is that sustainable? So back in 2016, they were up 900%, right? But it didn't sustain, right? And then after that, next quarter, they were down. I mean, from the high, obviously. So they were down, but it still increased by 220% there. And so at some point, the period of this spike in growth is going to diminish at some point. So it took them 3 years to get to the down. Right here. So from 16 to the first one was 19. But yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of videos saying that, hey, just because it's high doesn't mean it's overvalue. You just don't know what's going on in the market or whatever. It's like, I don't think that's a good assessment on this company. I'm cautious. Like, sure, if you want to buy into this and make, the momentum, like, of course, the momentum is in this company, so it could run, of course, because people are paying attention to it. It's people all around the world paying attention to this stock right now because this is the one that pushed the SPY up, right? So if this particular company go down, the SPY is going to come down as well. And so that's why, it's so popular. And it's a double-edged sword too, right? Because if it's popular, that means you should be selling, right? It's counterintuitive. You have to counteract the psychology. And that's why I'm so bullish in this company, because it's been down for 3 years, right? And from that time when Brian Cohen got in, that time it was worse. The company wasn't making money, right? Well, actually they did, but they were kind of the negative sentiment was so entrenched in the psyche of this company, that just the mere mention of GameStop alone, it's like, oh, that's a shitty company. Oh, that's terrible place to work, right? So that sentiment is still kind of looming. Of course, like that's why we're still trying to fight that. But sentiment can shift based on the balance sheets. I think, the fundamental of the company is a lot better now than 3 years ago. And I'm sure people are gonna, pin the negativity of the company, the fact that we're closing down store, half of it, right? We used to be 6,000 store, and now we're 4,500 store. Hold on, let me see if I could find that. Here, might be on the other annual report or something. Contract. No. Sorry, you guys, I'm looking for a number of stores. Yeah, I don't think it's on here. What if AK? What is an annual report? 10K? 10K. Annual report. So we went from, hold on, 2001. I only look at 2001. 2020 Brian Cohen is not in there, so that's why I don't really care too much. But it's just based on the comparison, right? Number of stores right here. So hold on. So outside, in the US, this is 2021. Maybe I should go a little bit further down. Let's look at the 2020, sure. Compare. So stores number back in 2020, before Ryan Cohen got in. That's domestic, and then this is, so the total amount of store right here. 5,500 store, right? Compared to they didn't even tally this up. So this is international store, domestic store. So if you add that one, so we close to 700 store there, from 20 to 21. And then, when we close down store, of course, people are going to be like, oh, they used to have 5,500 and now down to, okay, let's see. Most recent one right here. I'm just prepping you guys on the negative sentiment, after we post the positive quarter. I'm sure they're going to try to find anything that's negative about that. Anything at all. So this is the most current one. So if you look at the comparison, plus 29.49, that's 4. So we close from 2020 to now, we close about 1,000 store, 1,100 store. Okay, that's a lot of store to close, right? How many is that? This is the ballpark, you guys. So that's 25% of stores being closed, right? And guess what too? It's maybe they're closing more even. So from, remember York Distributing Center? They were closing. So we might be down to 4,000 right now, right? So even more store being closed. So just preface ahead of time, they're gonna try to say, GameStop's gonna be closing store and more is gonna to come. That's a sign of terrible things happening to the company. But in the meantime, they're posing a profitable company, profitable quarter. they're not going to focus on that. They are going to focus on the amount of store being closed. And again, and that's been kind of, remember when we were posting a cash flow positive for the first time, like back a couple years ago? Brian Susie was like, cash flow positive doesn't mean anything if you're closing down stores or something like that, or something negative about the company. If net income doesn't, it's like, okay, well, again, those sentiment is just crazy. But again, like if you know how to read the balance sheets, none of these analysts will sway you, right? Again, these analysts are paid to do what they do. For a reason, right? Because again, they're there to mislead you into going into company that is too late for you to go into already, so that the people up top have the exit liquidity up top, right? Just like Jeff Bezos, right? The reason why he's selling now and not 2 years ago is because he knows what's about to happen in the next couple of years. He's selling little at a time, obviously, because he does have a lot of share of Amazon. So if he sell the whole thing at once, it's going to crash the whole company. And so that's the whole point of them kind of little at a time so that it doesn't crash the market. But he's selling as quickly as possible, right? He's been, I think, $10 billion already of Amazon stock being sold by Jeff Bezos already. And Mark Zuckerberg also, recently also JP Diamond's been selling his bank company, or JP Morgan shares, Chase shares. And so these top people have been kind of shaving off, taking the profit off of the market. And this is why the media is trying to pump you, saying, oh yeah, this is a good thing, AI is going to take over the world, AI this, AI that, Nvidia is going to be able to kind of sell to every single thing, factories and all that stuff. Well, factory makes goods, right? If people don't have the money to buy goods and services, including food, what makes you think the people are going to care about buying computer chips? Why do you think people are going to care about buying a robot, to help them out? They can't even afford to buy food. And so, again, that's the dilemma, and that's what the news doesn't want to tell you about. Closing of store is just management, managing, perfecting the sorry, can't even read this. Oh, by the way, too, I broke my other monitor, so right now I'm only have one monitor here, so I'm squinting right now to read this. Okay, so the closing of store is just management, perfecting the GME footprint for optimal profitability. Yes. Yeah, because like what Morantz was saying too is that they were overstored for a long time. And the reason why they're overstored is because they, spreading themselves too thin. I see this with AMC too. It's like if you type in AMC, there are 3 theaters that are so close together. I don't understand it. It's like very close, like within like 5 miles of each other sometimes. And I'm like, what the hell? The same way, right? Of course, like this is the playbook of them. My thought as well too, I think there's a reason why they want to have a cluster of stores operating, within 5 miles of each other. My thought is that I'm sure it's because of the connection that they have. It's like, hey, my friend, own this stripping mall or whatever. Let's give them the business, right? And it's like killing so many birds with one stone type things. Like I get a kickback from the fact that I have relationship with, or they own it. Like they own those strip malls already, and so just so happen that they are close by. It has nothing to do with the profitability of GameStop, right, so to speak. And I'm talking about old leadership here, right? Because again, they have so many tentacles in so many different industry that they get to kind of lease out the business that they own to the real estate that they own as well. And so again, it's meant to kind of suck the wealth out of the company that they own from shareholder without knowing what's going on. And of course they say, oh, they're independent, right? If you have a board of director that kind of like direct you to do those things, there's some connection there. And that's why connect the dot really is important for people to understand. It's like, there's a lot of things going on in this world that people are, kind of like oblivious to. And, and also too, this is why people thinking that everything about this company is conspiracy. Oh, it's only conspiracy-minded people that are investing in this company. They're prone to terrorism and all that stuff. It's BS. It's like, why do you say that? Like, we're just investing in the company because we believe in the leadership. Why can't it just be that simple, right? And the shenanigans that happens around this company, I don't know of anyone who kind of look at this objectively would say, oh, this is a normal thing, normal way of operation. It's like, of course people going to be stopped from trading the company. It's like, okay, if that's normal, I don't know. To me, there's some anomaly there at the very least, right? I'm willing to say that. But if you say that this is a normal way of operating business, I don't know. I missed that memo, so to speak. Anyway, but thank you though, Michael, for that. Okay, let me look at this real quick.
One top money manager suggests it's hard to fight NVIDIA's bullish force in the market. Ben Emmons is the senior portfolio manager and head of fixed income at New Edge Wealth. Ben, you've heard the conversation so far. Is NVIDIA the most important stock on planet Earth? I think that's what the Goldman's trading desk called it earlier this week.
Yeah, it is a really good acronym. I think, if you step back from a macro perspective, and you take NVIDIA as its impact on the broader market, its beta to the market is like over 2-to-1, right? So it has a real impact, as we saw. And as that's happening, the financial conditions are starting to loosen now quite a bit. I mean, in fact, that financial conditions index is at the 2021 high when we had apparently a bubble in the market. So that financial conditions is going to affect the economy. And it's, I think, happening. And maybe to Bonneman's point and to Carter's point, like you're seeing other stocks reacting now that are the real economy. So I think there's something going on from NVIDIA spilling over to the broader market and then to the economy.
But there's a balancing point, right? You have NVIDIA stock doing what it's doing, but you've also got interest rates, both medium and longer term, continuing to go higher. That's tightening, right? So in your fixed income and equity hat, how does it all play out from a balance perspective?
So this is really interesting that one stock can actually affect interest rate expectations. Because I was looking at that, like how NVIDIA changed the stock, what's happening with the rate cuts being priced in. So over the last sort of, say, 2 weeks that NVIDIA has really exploded. We've had taken out roughly about one rate cut out of yields, right? So now that's not all NVIDIA, obviously, but it's the idea that NVIDIA, as being the important stock to the economy currently, affecting the economy, I guess, through financial conditions, that therefore yields will start to rise. And look, we've broken out of the 100-day moving average on the 10-year at 435 today. That does open to a next move higher if the next rate cut gets to be priced out. So I think eyes are on NVIDIA and the effect on the economy, and rates are paying attention.
Yeah, we're doing nothing on interest rates in terms of expectations, really out now through almost July. And I guess, Ben, good news is good news for stocks has been good news, and that's great to see. One of the news stories that caught my eye today is that the Dutch central bank had a minus 660% year-over-year loss, and whatever that really means, the point is that central banks are issuing at much higher rates and have an interest expense that is far exceeding where they are in terms of interest income. The dynamics here, to me, are that the rest of the world is going to continue to see higher interest rates, and that's going to pull up rates here in the U.S. Japan is rumored to be going in the March meeting to probably really officially moving away from interest rate and yield curve targeting. Just thoughts on because I agree with you. I think yields are going higher, and at some point I think equities are going to pay for it. But right now, it feels very orderly and it feels interesting.
Indeed, it's like an orderly move, and the position in interest rates is not so stretched currently. But I think to your point, like it's happening globally. Let's pay attention a little bit to China, right? They finally started a rally. That's up, I think, about 10% to start of the month. As that stimulus start to maybe affect their economy for real, and so you're getting this bit of emerging market dynamic here too, of economy starting to come alive, PMI data getting better, so global rates are starting to move up. And I think what we're dealing with is a situation where these rate cuts being priced in were clearly overextended when we started the year. They've been taken back. Now the scenario is on the table that we may not have any rate cuts at all this year. And if I listened to the Fed over the last 24 hours, they're getting quite doubtful about that they can actually cut rates this year, right? So and it's not only
should be.
Right, and it's not only here, but it's in Europe too. So yes, I agree with you. We're probably in a phase here. There's good news driving up yields. Obviously, at some point, you get the tightening, and that's not yet happening.
What is driving? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, look, it's always this way where people are expecting something. It's not what happens. We heard higher for longer. We crossed 5%. What happened? It drops to 3.8 on the 10-year. Basically, isn't this the sweet spot for rates? Who cares if it's 5 or 4? You drop to 2, something's wrong on Main Street. You rally to 7% yields, you've got to change your DCF model and your assumptions for price targets. But sitting here at 4%, 4.25%, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Carter, that you have, like, say, rates are at neutral, quote, unquote.
Yes.
Meaning, right, the economy is growing above potential, inflation is trending slowly down, so rates are kind of reflecting that sort of neutral level, and the Fed is at 5.5. So, some people say you're probably a little tight with the Fed here, but, I think that long term, if you're going to go back to the Fed's neutral rate of the 2.5% that they still have in that dot plot, then we're in an economy that's far weaker. So, I guess we're sizzling nicely here with rates. You could probably go back to 5% just for the technicals that we're highlighting, but we're not really, let's say, overstretched. So the 7% scenario seems to be unlikely. It seems to be more like ranging here in this 4.5 up to 5.
Yeah, so they're expecting higher, right? I was looking at this one right here. I think I did a live stream like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was at lower rate, like at 3%, and so it's creeping back up again, the yield, so to speak, and so perhaps the rally for the Nvidia kind of caused that concern of but again, like the Fed could say anything, right, and until they actually make the action of hiking the rate to scare off the market, and again, could be the possibility of what could kind of ensue. But I don't know. Like again, I don't think the trading, like the price action of Nvidia or any stock, could override what's happening in the economy. Eventually, those job cuts, those credit card delinquency, even student loan is gonna kick in, or has been kicking in, and I think that's why people are not spending as much, and the bottom line of the company is gonna take a hit at some point. I know, like, Nvidia posts crazy amount of revenue, but again, who's buying it from them, right? Just like Morantz was saying, like you can't see. Perhaps it's government, I don't know, like some covert operated, thing. And that's probably another thing too. I was like thinking about. Maybe that's why, Nancy Pelosi's been buying calls on Nvidia, because she knows this, right, ahead of time, and so, there's some connection there. Perhaps that's why we don't see who buy the Nvidia, chips. If it's Microsoft, is it straight from the government? Who knows, right? But why would they do that? Well, because they want to prop up the SPY for the election year and all that stuff, so that they could go to tell regular people, hey, look, the reason why you struggle is because you're not working hard enough. Well, is that true? I don't know. If your wage cannot keep up with the inflation of the food, it really doesn't matter whether how much you make. You have to keep up with the inflation. Adding another job in your life, when you have 5 kids already, it's really tough, right? You can't expect people to to know ahead of time, and even the most hard-working people could feel fatigue at some point, right? And that's what my generation and the generation before after me kind of, and that's why like the boomers usually they're like, oh, you're just lazy and all that stuff. No, I think it's just again the psychological of seeing the national debt at 36 trillion yen. I think the last I saw it was like 32 trillion, but yeah, it just keep increasing. There you go, 34 trillion. I think 2 years ago it was 32, so it's keep climbing back up. And so yeah, just the psychologically, how can we get out of this debt, right? I know there's going to be some people going to be saved from this, but it's not going to be mainstream, right? If anything happened to the top guy, and this is what happened when you have too big to fail, is because they get greedy. They get greedy and they don't want to lose. They don't want to kind of give an inch because they quote unquote working so hard to build their position and all that stuff. They think, right? Of course, they, in my opinion, they're stealing from Main Street because, back in 2008, like there's no executive going to jail, so to speak, for breaking the economy, right? They just get bailed out and become bigger. JP Morgan should have been broken down to 10 different banks, but now they become like the biggest. And then they get to manipulate the price of silver and gold and all that stuff, commodity, and just get a slap on the wrist, like, oh, don't do it again, just give me $2 million of fines. And even that fines is tax deductible for them too. So it's like it's a business expenses. So it's not really a fine, so to speak. Again, that's why they're emboldened to keep gambling, with depositor money. That's what fractional banking is all about. And I think I know like it's very complex for me to kind of talk about because again, I don't know the ins and out of the banking system, but from what I learned is that the fractional banking system is what kind of give rise to this derivative, the fact that the derivative itself, it's like quadrillions of dollars. It's not trillion anymore, it's quadrillion. It's like the number is astronomical when it comes to like those derivatives. And then offshore banking and all that stuff. And, every single time that we need to be, physically responsible, there's none. Like even the Republican who claim to be physically responsible, they're not, because they keep adding more wars. And remember John McCain? I forgot about. I don't know, like if going political here, but it's like, oh, I'm fiscally responsible, but then he was like bomb Iran. Like what? You want to go to war with Iran? But yet you're like, oh, that's physically responsible. But here's the thing, it's like it's been hijacked already. And I've had this belief for a long time, that no matter who you're voting for, you're actually voting for the same class, right? Why do you think Biden's now wants to stir up this war? And yes, we are going to butt head with Iran, right? Eventually, right? And I know, McCain was a Republican, right? He wants to bomb Iran. Okay, now we're at what? How many? I know he's dead already, but the point is, Republican wants to go to Iran back then, right? And now a Democrat is trying to stir that. So my thought is that you don't have two-party system anymore. The same people who are in power now is trying to cause this chaos. But I don't know. Again, like, is it a conspiracy theories? I don't know. I mean, I just remember, the election. I used to be very, I wouldn't say well-versed, but I was watching the debates between, the Democrats and Republican. And, I used to be like, yeah, proud to be an American type thing, right? Like, you get to vote, you get to kind of make your voice heard and all that stuff. And that's why I was kind of involved in or at least, get to see the debates between the two. And I remember McCain saying that, bomb Iran, right? Even though at a younger age, I was like, oh, that's curious. Why would you want to cause war? And that's why, I developed like, hey, Democrats is a lot better. Again, my own point of view here back then. Because like, why would you want to cause any chaos when you could, have peace in the world? And now, fast forward to Biden, trying everything he can. It's like, first it was Ukraine, and now, Israel, right? Supporting Israel, and then, Turkey. The whole conflict I haven't been following, but, it seems like Iran is going to get involved and all that stuff. Now, hopefully there's no nuclear war here, but that's kind of doom and gloom, right? Sorry, I'm off tangent here. But yeah, it's just something I noted throughout like this past decades. It seems like you're not voting. There's no opposition party here. There's just one party who, like, whether you think you're fiscally responsible or not, debt keep racking up for some reason. And again, perhaps this is what it is. Private equity has bought America, right? This is their playbook. It's just to run you dry based on debt. Just add more debt. No worry. Just you could pay it later, refinance later. Just add more debt. Who cares, right? You could always kick the can down the road type thing. That's why every single company, that is private equity owned is heavily in debt. Heavily, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Just my thought here. I think private equity runs this world, just like Moran's was saying, in my opinion. All right. Seems like I'm ranting on and on here. I think that's all I have, you guys. Like, there's no opposition here, so kind of boring a little bit, no? Seems like I'm preaching to the choir here today. This is pretty cool. The extraordinary lifelike sound. Favorite. This, I want this. Hold on 1 second. Oh, this is Xbox. PlayStation. Okay. Alright, so there's LPGs coming for Final Fantasy. I've never played this game, but I am kind of like, oh, maybe I need to. I haven't been playing games for a while. Might need to have some fun in that, but that's so funny. Yeah, so it's a good game to kind of sink my teeth in. What is this? Getting ready. March 2022. Pre-order. It's a lot of like good title games coming.
A fleeting moment can feel like a lifetime for those caught in its deadly rhythm. And a lifetime can pass in the blink of an eye for anyone embracing its bitter end.
That's gruesome.
The only thing we know for sure is that time marches forward.
Even if we are apart, still we are one.
Without hesitation, without remorse. If the drum drives the rhythm, then the river directs the flow.
Let's do this together.
How many mountains must you move to alter the river below?
Let us not forget the pain of Master Shoin and the countless others who have suffered. As the smoke rises, so shall we.
Similar to this Sakura or something. I don't know if any of you have played that one. That's a cool game too. Yep. Alright guys, thank you. Okay, Leno. Make love, not war. Yes, I agree. That is so true. But again, like, to me, those chaotic moments make so many people money. Like, you know, the people up top, obviously, the people who knows what's going on. We know that these people are inside traders, right? They do it all the time, but nobody's held accountable for it. And that's why they're emboldened to do it even more. And it's like, oh, what are you going to do, you peasant, right? Nobody really... you know, hold their feet to the fire, so to speak. And so since they have the control over the media and everything, it's tough for any people with a counter narrative to get people to, it's like, hey, this is happening. Just think about the 9/11 alone. Like, you know, there are details in 9/11 that happened that nobody really get to see. You know, I'm sure there's documents being locked away for 70 years or for 100 years, right? So my generation would not be able to know what's going on until the next generation. Then, okay, it's like, but by the time you know the truth, it's already too late for you to change anything, right? It's like, what's the whole point of, like, and that's another thing too. It's like, why was it locked away? Even the Jeffrey Epstein thing, right? There's certain names that is being deducted from the documents that it's being released, but why? Are those people that's still in power today? Like, who are you trying to protect here, right? And so my thought is like, okay, you're protecting somebody who's involved, but yet they're still a public figure of some sort, right? My thought, again, like, is it a conspiracy theorist? Well, I don't know. It just happened. You could see, like, they're trying to hide something here. Anyway, my thought. Just how my brain works sometimes. It's like, oh, I wonder why do they do this thing that it doesn't make any sense? And then it's like, oh, okay, here's why. Here's the reason why they don't do things that doesn't make sense, because they're hiding something. Right? Like these analysts, right? That cover GameStop. They always cover certain things that they like the numbers that they present sometimes. It's like a 9-month versus a 12 months, you know. Again, pick and choose, cherry picking data. Of course, like I'm guilty of doing the same thing, right? I'm cherry pick the data, but I think I feel like my data is a lot better, like well comprehended. But that's just my opinion, though. Like my cherry pick is a lot better than your cherry pick. See what I mean? I'm just too confident in this. That is kind of dangerous too, because you don't want to overconfident in something that you might be wrong about. So that's what I'm trying to avoid as well. That's why I don't want any kind of hyping on the data that is presented to you. So far, I like it. I like the way that the direction of the company. You know, if you look at the trend right here, you know, the operating cost is going down. Our expenses is going down by what, $400 million right there, right? From here to here, close to $300 million in what, in a year and a half? That's pretty substantial, right? Because again, the store being closed, and at the same time, if you look at from here to here, you know, gross profit is going up, but top line revenue doesn't decrease that much. So remember when, hold on, let me do this final thing before I let you go, since I was rambling on about nothing, right? You can pick my channel. Hey, be nice, be nice. Let's see. So the store was 5,500 back in 2020, right? So let's say around here. So we have 5,500 store back then, right? And look at the revenue right there. You see this? So the revenue wasn't that much, right? So from there, 5,000 stores then. We only make $5.1 billion at that time. So that's 2020, right? At the end of the 2020. And then fast forward to now, we actually have more revenue with less store. How much less? 1,000 store less. 1,500 store less. Mind blown yet? I know, like back in 2020, I think this is the inflationary thing, right? Because again, if you were to compare, hold on, you see this $5.1 billion right there? That was before the inflation, right? So the $6 billion here is inflationary. So so technically, you know, it's not that much increase. I would wager that this right here is actually more than because of the inflation, right? I don't know, like 10% or even 40% maybe. I don't know. Seems high. Depends on what you are selling. Like food went up like crazy. I would say double in the last 4 years. And I'm sure you feel the same way too. It's like, and so if that's the case, then $5.1 billion is a lot more today. It probably feels like $6.1 billion, so to speak. But still though, in comparison of the store numbers, we have been selling more in terms of dollar denomination, right? And so yeah, it's remained to be seen. Maybe this year we're gonna, you know, based on the inflation, we're gonna get up to $6 billion again. Who knows? Who knows? If that's the case, we're gonna beat double beat. I mean, if you look at this one right here, that's 500. So if you were to do the same, 500 is going to be, yeah, I don't know, like from here to here, that's 300 million. So from here to here, if you do the same, it's probably like 250 cash flow positive again. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, if they could do it on quarter, hold on. This is quarter 1. This is Q1. Okay. Is this Q1? What am I looking at? It's crazy. Okay, so Q1 here, cash flow is very low then. Why? Well, their operating expenses, right? Right there, right there. So that's 200 million. So my thought is they could do another 250. Next one. And that's if we are at this one. If we could achieve this right here, this same number for next quarter, we would come out at 250 million. And I don't know if that's a big if, I don't know what you think about, the revenue. I feel like we're going to be able to at least stay flat right here. Because like when you're downtrending, you don't downtrend all the time, right? At some point you're going to, experience a little surge here. So from here to here, we're downtrending only like 1% there. Right, so if that's the case, even if you go to a different, the same trend right here, right? So instead of 5.7, it might come out to be 5.650 or something, right? So yeah. Overall, we're gonna be fine. It's a matter how much more fine it is. Is it gonna be 200 million or 100 million? I think cash flow positive wise, we're gonna be, cutting close to 250. Just my thought. Epstein Island. Alright guys, I'm gonna grab something to eat. But yeah, thank you so much for kind of sitting through this. I'm just thinking out loud here. But I hope you learned something, about this company. It seems like I'm preaching to the choir today. So, just me hanging out with you at this point. Not much there. But, yeah, as far as the company goes, we're doing great. I will see you when I see you.